Before testing each day, choose a safe, flat location and follow the manufacturer's instructions for setting up your portable roller dyno unit. Be sure to consider oil. Look for anything on the rollers that might affect their traction qualities. Clear the tester of any vehicle prior to doing a zero-point calibration check. Power the tester up and allow the zero offset check to be completed before testing a vehicle. If the machine can't be zeroed, you can't use it to put vehicles out of service. Also, check the due date for the next calibration of the machine. If the calibration is past due, again, you can't use the machine to put vehicles out of service. Start the procedure by greeting the driver. Explain the purpose of the test and what you expect from him or her. Explain that the test is designed not to endanger the vehicle or the load. Keep in mind that the drivers don't do this every day. They may require some coaching and your patience. Look for underinflated tires. If tire air pressure is below the North American standard out-of-service criteria, have the driver inflate the tires to the correct pressure. If that can't be done, you should take the appropriate out-of-service action for flat tires. If the tires are good, proceed. The brake system air pressure needs to be between 90 and 100 psi throughout the test. Have the driver let you know if the pressure drops too low and have him increase it. With low brake reservoir air pressure, the maximum available brake force will be lower. The driver stands a better chance of passing the test with the proper system air pressure. Look for exceptions that might complicate the test. Be aware of wide or poorly secured loads. You don't want to damage the machine or injure yourself. Be sure to enter the vehicle's ID number and your inspection ID number into the PBBT computer interface. On a roller tester, after lining the vehicle up for a straight approach, position the first axle on the test rollers. Be sure that the vehicle is centered and not touching the sides of the machine. Remind the driver to keep the system air pressure between 90 and 100 psi. Have the driver place the vehicle in neutral and release the brakes. Since the PBBT will be rotating the wheels, have the driver hold the steering wheel. He should be able to keep the vehicle from wandering from side to side across the rollers. When the vehicle has settled on the rollers and is not rocking, start the test. The rollers will start and measure the rolling resistance and the axle weight. After the rolling resistance is measured, cue the driver to gradually apply the brakes all the way to full brake application. The gradual full application should take place over 5 to 10 seconds. The test is complete when maximum brake force is achieved or the test stops due to lockup. If the vehicle doesn't generate sufficient braking force, the PBBT will eventually time out, or you can manually stop the test. Review the results of the test after each axle. If an individual axle shows a low test result, retest the axle to ensure a proper test. If the axle passes, advise the driver to move on to the next axle. While you're running the test, observe closely. Continue to watch for worn parts or unsecured loads that may become dangerous during the test. The objective of the test is to measure maximum braking force. If the driver is pumping or feathering the pedal during application, the test may be invalid and it won't be in the driver's favor. If the vehicle wanders off the test surface or touches the frame of the tester, it will affect the test, again, not in the driver's favor. When these conditions exist, reposition the vehicle and rerun the test. It might also be helpful if you explain to the driver what went wrong during the test. Remind the driver to keep the system air pressure between 90 and 100 psi. Keep an eye on low clearance vehicles. Low-hanging parts may snag on the tester. Testing a spread axle tandem on a portable roller dyno might require extra ramps to relieve the weight of wheel ends that would be off the ground. 4-spring suspension tandem axles can pose a similar problem. Be certain that all of the wheels are on the ground or supported. Quick lock axles again may pose weight distribution problems depending on the configuration, so follow the setup recommendations of the manufacturer and CVSA to test these vehicles. Once you've tested all of the axles on the vehicle, compare the results with the pass-fail criteria that are applicable to that specific vehicle. Refer to the CVSA North American Standard out-of-service criteria for appropriate out-of-service action. If the vehicle passes, review the results of the test with the driver. Document the PBBT results, and if you're going to further inspect the driver or vehicle, carry on. If the vehicle fails, you should also review the PBBT results with the driver. Provide the driver with a fault tree list of defects as a courtesy to expedite repairs. Follow the current out-of-service procedures and document the inspection. In order to refute a challenge to an out-of-service order in court, you must be able to show: Number 1, that you were properly trained in the use of the PBBT. Your vendor training certificate and CVSA certification will attest to your training. Number 2, you must show that you followed standard operating procedure. Don't improvise. This is a straightforward procedure that will yield reliable results. And 3, you must be able to show that the PBBT was in calibration when you used it to place the vehicle out of service. Now you've been given a little history and background on performance-based brake testing. You understand the difference between a performance-based and a visual mechanical inspection. You've seen the two types of performance-based brake testers approved for enforcement use in North America and how they work. And you've been shown the procedure for performing a performance-based brake test on the type of tester you'll be using. This video is not a substitute for the CVSA PBBT certification course. It also won't replace the manufacturer's training materials for your specific PBBT. Each machine is operated a little differently. Learn to operate your machine properly. Know the sounds, controls, error messages, and limitations of the machine you use. Modern technology and exhaustive testing by industry experts, FMCSA and CVSA have proven that performance-based brake testers are safe and reliable for roadside enforcement. Use them along with your visual mechanical inspections to keep unsafe vehicles off the road.